recording right now. Alright.
Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Ryan Brown.
My name's Evan Snitkey.
And this video is a video we've been wanting to make. Basically just going to talk about the whole process of making our band's brand new acoustic EP, State of Mind. Can't tell if I already said, but we are Night Like This. That's our band, and this video is just the making of the whole EP, State of Mind, something we wanted to do and that we'll probably just look back on in the future to kind of reminisce, and then also to give you guys some insight on what the whole process of making an album is like and what our experience was with it. So with that, we have a third member of the band, Chase Ringler. He's out of state right now, but he is the third member of the band. I do acoustic guitar in the band. I also do the vocals.
I also do acoustic guitar and vocals.
We'll go into a little bit more later, but we do a ton of other instruments on this EP. So we'll go into that a little bit later. But for those that don't know us, we've been best buddies for the longest time. I've known E since the 6th grade. We used to ride the same bus together on the 6th grade.
Yep,
I remember listening to Green Day on the bus in 6th grade on our little
the cassette player, or not cassette players, the
compact
CD
disc player.
Yeah.
So just to give you guys some history on us, knowing each other for a long time. I've been playing guitar since the 5th grade. You've been playing since
probably the 6th grade.
6th grade.
Yeah.
Got my first guitar when I was in 5th grade. It was $100. It was a Johnson. It was the coolest thing ever. I remember saving up for that. And I remember my buddy Luke Mingwasser gave me a little bit of money to help buy that. So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yep. So that's when I got my first guitar and started getting into playing the guitar. But we've been playing guitar together for about
since 2007. So this is the
decade. A decade now. So
decade.
If there's not a timestamp on this video, today is June 22nd.
Yep.
Thursday, June 22nd, 2017. So yeah, we've been playing with each other for about 10 years now. Had a lot of musical background.
Oh yeah.
So to start off, I guess it started out when we were
in the 7th grade.
We were in the 7th grade. There was a fine arts class that we both took. It's kind of when we started playing alongside each other and realizing, hey, we kind of play and we like similar music, and that was just a really fun class that got us into music and playing together. And that's when we started our very first band. Was around that time in junior high. We were the Stunt Brothers.
The Stunt Brothers.
And yeah, we won't go too much into that because this video is supposed to be about Night Like This.
Fun thing is, Chase Ringler, our other member, was the vocalist of that band.
Yes.
For, I don't know, a couple months, I guess.
Yep. Chase Ringler was the vocalist. I played electric guitar in that band. I did a little backup vocals.
And I played the bass.
And did some backup vocals. And then Luke Mingwasser was the drummer.
Yep.
I remember we had some good times with that band. We played at a dance-a-thon. I played at a dance. That was really cool. We played the talent show. Just one time. But
moving
on to that, we then after a while that kind of stopped. We went on next to be Defiant is what I believe we were.
Yep,
and
Defiant.
And that was the four of us still.
I don't think Chase was ever a part of Defiant.
Chase wasn't part of Defiant. This is when it kind of, where there was a period where it was just like me, E,
and Luke.
He goes by E.
Yeah,
I want to call him E. Me, E, and Luke were playing just guitar and bass together. Eventually, we got a drummer named Rome Gamble, and he and us then formed Defiant.
And then that slowly converted into Shady View Boulevard.
Yep.
And then we kept Defiant Name as our album name, our EP name.
Yep.
For that band.
So when we were Shady View Boulevard, which consisted of me on vocals and electric guitar, he was on bass and vocals, and then Roman on drums, we were Shady View Boulevard, and our name of our EP was Defiant, in honor of our previous band's name. And that, maybe looking back, that's like...
That was 2010.
That was 2010. That's 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
And we actually recorded a CD with that band, and we still have it. And that was a fun time. And looking back, maybe that's one of the reasons that sparked why we started up this project and wanted to do an EP. So there was Shady View Boulevard, and then after 2010, I don't think there was Shady View Boulevard anymore.
Then it just kind of...
Just because of school and college and stuff like that, but...
Yeah.
Anyway, looking at the now, last year, 2016, the summer of 2016, I just graduated from University of Northern Iowa, and we were wanting to get together and play music just like in any other day we would do. And we would be playing electrics and just writing random stuff and jamming with each other. And then I guess one day we just we also both have acoustic and electric guitars. So we were playing a little bit of both. We were playing acoustic, and we were just kind of writing and kind of reminiscing a little bit on writing for Shady View Boulevard, and just kind of thought, well, hey, why don't we write some new stuff? Because we had actually, in our previous band, Shady View Boulevard, after we had broken up or stopped playing or whatever, we actually went back and recorded a song acoustically called Lock Your Doors and Bar Your Fridge. And then which, fun fact, we played that on the the school sound system during our lunch, and we were really proud of that. We thought that was awesome. So so we did that.
I remember they forgot about it, that it was playing, so they just kept playing it.
Yeah, they just kept playing it for like the whole half-hour lunch.
Half hour.
And so that was really cool. But anyway, you got anything to say on that about last summer when we kind of started playing?
Well, before last summer, I mean, that transition from Shady View Boulevard into this band, we did record a few more acoustic songs. One of them being
this was
a secret track that you guys probably will never hear.
Maybe. But you're talking about the Distance Between Us.
Distance Between Us, yep.
That was the summer of 2013, I remember. That, I don't know how long that took, but I remember going over to his old place in the summer of 2013, writing and recording that song. So, but what other ones were you? We did Lady in the Blue Dress by Sense of Sail.
There were a few covers.
There was just, for a fun cover.
We did some Blink-182 stuff.
Yep. So, we did some writing that summer and some recording. But up from there till now is kind of the first time we started really writing together again.
I think kind of the whole thing happened where we finished that song, The Distance Between Us, and then we decided, hey, let's write some more music.
Yep.
Like that. And that's when we really started to transition into it.
Yep. So I guess we didn't really mention, but we're at E's place right now, and we'll get into this maybe next about kind of where we made the album. But before we go, okay, I was just checking where we had the time. We got the time there. We have two cameras going, so if we're looking in two different spots, that's why. But yep, we're at E's place here. So now into 2016, I guess. So at the end of summer, we're like, okay, hey, let's go through this, making this EP. And we didn't have, much material written. We had actually had one song, which is now on the EP, the final EP, the kind of the idea of the song, the bass of the song together by the end of that summer, and we're like, okay, let's make this EP. We got something to start with. So I, like I said, just graduated from University of Northern Iowa. Evan and Chase were and are going to school at ISU.
Yep.
Up in Ames, and that is where we did all the recording for State of Mind. Was in their apartment.
All in one room.
In his bedroom.
In the bedroom.
We turned it into like a studio. It was pretty legit though, honestly. So because they were in school and because I'm working full time, we could only record on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big reason why this whole making this EP took quite a while. I'm sure if we had time to work on it every single day, 8 hours a day, it wouldn't be nearly as long. But
and a lot of it was learning too.
And a lot of it was learning. This was when we recorded our CD with Shady View Boulevard. We weren't the ones who produced it. A guy named Shane McChurch we went to high school
Mm-hmm.
with. It was at his place. He had his whole basement set up, and he had recorded bands before, and it was, of course, different with being electric and with drums and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it was a very good learning experience.
Ton of learning.
Ton of
Insane.
learning. So, then we'll get into more of that later. But so, yeah, the studio. So I was only up there on the weekends essentially because I had to work during the week and I couldn't be up there every single weekend. I had other things going on, but basically any weekend I could be up there, I was up there, and basically it was a 9 times out of 10 type of thing. I was up there and we were working on it.
And it was just you get up there Friday night, we'd work, and then we'd go to bed, wake up Saturday, we'd work.
Yep.
Go to bed, wake up Sunday, we'd work, and then you sometimes wouldn't even leave till midnight.
I wouldn't even leave till midnight on Monday morning, technically it'd be, and then I'd work at Monday morning, so it was a lot of work. But okay, so the studio, it was in Ames at his apartment. We turned his bedroom into his studio, basically, and we started, like I said, in kind of the writing in July, but like really started when they started back up in school in August.
Yeah. And
we just finished a few weeks ago, so that time frame was the whole of State of Mind, making of. So we'll get into the software that we use to make this EP, and he knows a lot about this stuff, so I'm going to let him speak on it.
So the software that we use, the Digital Audio Workstation, usually referred to as DAW, we used was Mixcraft 8 Pro. We started with Mixcraft 5, which was funny because we upgraded to Mixcraft 7 because it was super cheap to upgrade. And then about a month later, they released Mixcraft 8. And we just decided to go all in and upgrade to Mixcraft 8 Pro because of all the fancy little add-ons and whatnot. So that was the digital audio workstation that we used. Other than that, I guess if you want to consider hardware too, we used my computer, all the setup, dual monitors, all that stuff. Was there any other software that we used?
Software.
We really did it all in Mixcraft, which is super amazing.
Yep. So shout out to Mixcraft on that one.
Yeah.
Next, we're gonna go into like the gear we used, everything we used in the making of State of Mind. So I'll let you talk first, quick about. We got some stuff right below the camera here that we used.
The funny thing about the gear is when we actually started producing this album, we didn't think that it was going to be as professional as it became.
Right.
We started recording with a blue snowball mic, which is, I don't know, like $50. So it's, pretty low-end mic. And we went through, recorded 2 of the songs, and we'll talk about this more later in the history and everything. But we decided to upgrade, and now we have a Bluebird mic, which we are using to record right now.
Yep, and we got that from Guitar Center.
Yep, and it was on sale. So it was a good sale.
Really
nice and good.
Really good purchase.
This mic is, I love it.
Basically, everything you hear as far as acoustics and vocals on State of Mind.
And the Cajon treble.
And Cajon treble on State of Mind was recorded with this Bluebird mic.
Yeah. And then the only other mic that we used, which was for the bass on the Cajon, was it was a Shure SM58 microphone, dynamic microphone that we used. And then, like I said, those were the only 2 mics that we used for the whole entire album. And other than that, we used a Focusrite Solo interface, which came in super handy. And then we don't use that.
Okay, so we, as far as instruments, we can talk about those.
Sure.
Every acoustic guitar you hear on State of Mind was recorded on my Taylor acoustic guitar. I don't have it here, but that's what you hear on the EP. We both, and we'll go into this a little bit more, but everything you hear on the EP as far as acoustic guitars was played half and half between the 2 of us. If you even want to get a little more detailed, I'm panned a little more to the right speaker and he's panned a little more to the left speaker. So
on acoustics.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we used my Taylor acoustic guitar.
110.
110, yeah. And we used a bass guitar. I forgot the brand.
I believe it's a Washburn.
Yep, that's what it is.
It's a Washburn.
Yep, the red Washburn.
We borrowed it from one of my friends that I went to school with.
Yep.
Which is super generous of her.
Yep. This is an acoustic EP, but there are a lot more instruments than just acoustic guitar on this EP. And that was on purpose. We wanted it to be that way. And we think and we didn't really talk about this yet, so I'm going to go into that now. But our style, our genre of what Night Like This is, I think what makes us unique and different is our sound. Like, to my knowledge, there's no other band that has our setup. I mean, 2 acoustic guitarists, a cajon player, and vocals, which, I mean, there's bands similar, like band I really like called This Wildlife is, I mean, they used to be a pop punk band, but they're now 2 acoustic guitar players, and they use electrics in their songs and stuff like that, and they're both vocalists. But as far as like our style, 2 acoustic guitars, a cajonist. I don't know if that's percussionist. That sound, and then I think what makes us stand out is what we wanted to do was get different sounds in all of our songs. So what I mean by that is, like, we both like quite a variety of music, and we wanted to get within our own band, our sound. We wanted little pieces of all our influences in each song. So, like, we wanted a pop punk song, but we also wanted, like, we both love heavy music, but it's like hard to you can't really translate that to acoustic guitar. But when you listen to the EP, you can definitely hear that within certain parts of it. So we wanted, I mean, there's songs that are
very mellow.
There are songs mellow, soft songs. There are hard songs, more driven songs, and that's what we wanted. We wanted a very different feel with each song.
Yeah, every song just has a different vibe that you get from it.
We wanted to make you feel like you're listening to 5 different bands when it's all just one band.
Right.
And I personally think we did a good job of that. So, that's a little bit about our style, I guess. And then back to gear. So
talk about the interface, the mics,
the 2 guitar.
Oh, okay, so we used. Yep, you were talking about your Taylor acoustic, and then we also used
the bass.
We used the bass. Yep, and then
Chase could probably speak a little bit more about his cajon, but basically, for those that don't know, a cajon is just a little percussion drum that you sit on.
Yep.
And it's like a box, and
it's kind of like this, but it's bigger, and you sit on it.
Yeah, this is actually the case for our mic that we used, our Bluebird mic that we used to record this EP. But yeah, that's really small scale version of a cone. And when you hit it in this area, it's more of a bass tone, and up top is more of a snare hit sound. So that's what Chase wrote and recorded cajon for this EP.
And then we had 2 different electric guitars that we used. One of them was a PRS, Paul Reed Smith, Custom 24 from, I believe, 2005.
Yep.
And the other one was...
The other guitar, that was his. The other one was my Ibanez guitar. You know, I'm not honestly sure what year, but I got it back in like 2009, something like that. So.
Yep. And then other than that, there are some kind of just fill sounds like cymbals and whatnot, but we also used 2 main kind of orchestraic sounds.
Yep.
One of them being the viola.
Yep.
And the other one was called Heavenly Strings, which was a group of string instruments.
Yep.
That you can hear when you listen to the tracks.
These are, that kind of just filled a lot of the background space, which sounds really nice. And if you listen to other acoustic songs, I'm sure you can pick and hear that. And
a lot of people don't realize how much time goes into that, because you have to write, you know, those sections. You have to, you know, put them all in there. You know.
Yeah, and we're going into that, but so we used those instruments. What else for gear? Guitars, bass.
We used different types of headphones, but nothing super fancy.
Yep. We used, these were
was one of them.
One of the main pair of Yamahas, and then I don't know what the other brand was for headphones.
I don't know.
I guess we get to, I think that's all the gear, but if we think anything else, we'll let you know as we go. If you see us looking down, it's at this. We got a little sheet we're going off of, so we don't forget. So that's everything we used for instruments as far as making this EP. Next, we're going to go into a little bit about just the general idea of the writing process of a song, the process of creating a song, making a song. So, just thought I had on this was, there's no really wrong or right way to write a song. It's like, is there, you know, people may ask, oh, do you write the words first and then do you write the guitar after to the words, or do you write the guitar first and then you write the words over it? There's like a million different ways, but what I find that we do best is when we get in a room together and we play together. We both have our acoustics. Quick before I go into that, even though we recorded on my Taylor throughout the EP, you have what was the Fender one, the model?
I have no idea. It's an older Fender that I had through my dad. Well, it's technically my dad's, but I actually just upgraded to a Taylor 214 CE, and I love that thing so much.
Yep, it's a really nice sound.
And it will definitely be...
You'll hear it later on.
You'll hear it later on. We'll talk about that later.
Yep. But, so back to the songwriting process. Basically, we both grab our acoustic guitars, and I think this is when we get songs together best, is when we just get in a room together and we start playing. Basically, we just start playing chords. I'll start playing chords, and I'll just kind of base the chord off whatever I was listening to that day. Probably is what it is. I'm like, oh, I listened to Blink-182 today. I'm going to start kind of playing these chords that I know they use in their songs, and I'll just kind of try to find maybe a pattern and just kind of go through that. And then E, he'll take off and he'll just try some stuff on some higher strings and just do some like lead parts while I'm playing the chords. And eventually at some point we'll hit an exit where he'll hit a really cool group of little
that usually happens
of
a lot
of notes while I hit this chord, and
and then we both look at each other
not
and then just the bells ring and
it's not the whole thing we just played there, but that little section right there. It's like that I heard a song in that little part, and so I think that's really cool. He does a really good job of hitting those leads when I'm playing chords, and I think that's where we get some of our best stuff.
Yeah. And
then we switch to, and I'll do lead. Excuse me, I'll do leads, and then he'll do.
And also for writing, just the rhythms and everything. That's one way that we do it, and another way too is we'll both write on our own, and then we'll get together and kind of just show each other what we've worked on, and then that slowly becomes something.
Yep.
After a lot of cooperation and whatnot.
Yep, absolutely. So once we get that, we'll get a little part of a potential song. So let's say we got a little lead from E and this chord part from E, and we got this little part like, okay, this sounds like a verse. Okay, let's see what would sound cool before this as an intro. Or let's say we wrote a part and said, oh, this sounds like a bridge. Let's try to write a chorus before this, or let's try to write a little transition piece into the next part, and basically just build off from there. So you're not writing a song like from intro to verse to and so on in order. It's just kind of where it happens, and then you piece things together, and a song from where it starts to where it ends up on the final EP is totally different. Not necessarily, but it gets thrown around a lot. So I know
it's definitely the case. I mean, we got together the other day and we're listening to some of the recordings that we made back in like July of last year.
Yeah.
And we're listening to it and I was like, this sounds familiar. And then all of a sudden we'd hear like a riff that's on the EP that you would hear, and we'd be like, what? This sounds completely different. We don't even remember writing this. It's changed.
Yep.
So
drastically.
It's pretty crazy.
Yep. And we're gonna go into a little bit about each song, but on that note, some stuff didn't change too much. There's a song, it's on the EP now, entitled Hindsight. It's the first track. That particular song, it just came to me like that. I remember I was home one night and I wanted to try to find chords that I hadn't played before, and I ended up, I was just putting my fingers kind of random spots, and some stuff sounded awful, but then every now and then I'd hit a chord that sounds like really cool, and I ended up finding these group of chords that sounded really cool, and I just got an order I liked, and I brought it to E and Chase and showed them, and they liked it. And that song honestly didn't change. As far as the rhythm guitars go, pretty much at all. There was an added intro and then transitions from the verses into the
I remember that because
part.
Originally the intro was going to be the full band, and then we just go into the verse.
Yep.
Or as a full band, just all the way through. And I don't know why, but just I had this idea of like, let's just take one of the rhythm guitars, put it at the beginning, and then have the whole band come in halfway through the intro.
Yep.
And I did it, and I remember showing my roommate at the time, Chris, and I remember he listened to it, and the first thing he said was, I have goosebumps.
Yep.
And I was like, I knew at that moment that we did it right.
Yep. That was a really cool idea for me, because that had originally started out with the intro was a part that is not on the EP now, and it was a full band version, like you said, and then he kind of turned it into that cool idea.
So a lot of writing too comes from just actually recording.
Yeah.
Because you're going through your recording, and you're like, you know what, maybe we should do this instead, or maybe we should add this, and then the song becomes way better.
Yep, absolutely. And I have a few words on
Sure.
We'll go into the kind of the order we decided to put the songs on the EP in, because we definitely had a purpose behind where each song went. But so that's kind of how we go through the process of writing song. So basically every song you hear on the EP, it's kind of how we went about writing it. Sometimes we would be together in the room writing parts together. Other times we'd be writing stuff our own and then coming together and then showing and say, here, does this sound cool? Does this not sound cool? And throwing a song together that way. But it generally, I think 95% of the time was always starting with acoustic guitars. We would never really write a lead and then lead part and say, hey, let's write a song off this. But we'd write the rhythms and then go off that.
And as far as the vocals go, the lyrics, I should say.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. Most of what we wrote was kind of like we would kind of write our own lyrics on our own time. But there were times we did get together.
The other
camera just died.
That's all good.
But we would get together and just listen to a song over and over and over and over again, and just just throw up all of our ideas onto paper.
Yep.
And then we get together and just sort through, and everything would just kind of come together.
Yep. As far as the writing process of a song, though, there wasn't really a song where we wrote the vocals first and then said the song's gonna kind of have this sound because of this. I mean, we did write lyrics and just on our own time, and then maybe played them later to a song, but we never really wrote lyrics and then said, okay, these lyrics right here are gonna be on top of a song that's gonna be a pop punk feel type of song.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little bit different, but that's how we kind of go about writing a song. A big part of that is writing a song is our inspirations, I guess. Like we kind of touched on earlier, but basically the bands we listened to heavily influenced us in what we wrote. So I'll speak quick about mine, and then you can go into yours. But one band that really influenced me on making this EP was a band called Our Last Night, and this was just, I was at work one day on YouTube and I was searching acoustic stuff. I was looking at different types of acoustic guitars. I remember searching acoustic guitar chords that sounded cool and that were different. And I just remember seeing a related video that said Our Last Night, Oak Island acoustic full album. And basically what it was is there's this band called Our Last Night. They're a full electric band, drums and bass and guitars and everything, but they did a whole acoustic version of one of their EPs called Oak Island, and that is by far one of my favorite acoustic EPs next to ours, of course. But it was like, I don't know, I just, right when I was I was like, I actually, when I first clicked on it, I was listening through all the songs. I came across the song, the title track, Oak Island, and I remember listening to that, and I remember texting E, and I was like, E, look this band up, look up this particular song. This is something that I think you would write. Like, when I heard that, I was like, that's something like Evan would write. I don't know why, but that's what I heard, and I was like, that's awesome. Anyway, they just have this style. You go and listen to that album, and you'll definitely hear influences from them in our EP, I think, for sure. Some tracks more than others. Probably Ghosts and Sink or Swim, you can hear influences from Our Last Night, Oak Island, in that. So they're a big one. Another band called This Wildlife was another big influence for me. They have an album called Clouded, the Atmosphere Edition. That just whole album is acoustic and really good, and they were just a big inspiration for me. You can definitely hear them in some of our songs too. Definitely These Thoughts, I think, and a little bit in the others. But another one is Blink-182.
Oh yeah.
We actually went to Chicago with each other in September of 2016. We saw Blink-182 live, Chicago, Tinley Park, Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. A Day to Remember opened for them. That's another one of our favorite bands. And then All American Rejects opened for them. So Blink-182 was an influence for me on this album. And then also 4 days after we saw Blink in Chicago, I saw a band called Neck Deep in Clive, Seven Flags Event Center. And I'd never heard of this band except for like 2 days before the show, and I kind of checked these guys out and was like, they sound kind of cool, I'll go check them out. And that was one of the best shows. It was just like, not very many bands you fall in love with just like that, but I did, and I bought their CD right there and a shirt, and yeah, they were really cool. And that definitely was an influence for me. Neck Deep, you can hear that sound, their sound, in our song Coming Home, I believe. I remember I started writing the rhythms for that in September last year when I saw the show. Started writing the rhythms for that, and it's kind of got this same kind of sound that they have, like a pop punk feel. And then a little bit with the lyrics too, which I'll go into later. But as far as influences on our sound, our band's main sound, those bands were pretty big for me. So I guess last one is Day to Remember. It's one of my favorites, and that's a band that if you listen to them, they have a ton of different styles. They can go super heavy, and then they can go down to really soft acoustic stuff, like If It Means a Lot to You, and You Had Me at Hello, stuff like that. So their variety influenced me a lot, and you can hear that in our songs too.
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, the big one is 4 Year Strong, and I think you can definitely hear that as far as the vocals go, because
Yeah.
Generic music, it's mainly just one person doing the vocals, but in 4 Year Strong's music, it's almost half and half, and that's kind of what we followed.
Yeah.
The lyrics are like
Yep.
almost 50% on every song.
And yep.
So that's a huge one.
I think
as far as vocals go.
Yep, and I would have to throw in there with mine. Blink-182 is the same way.
Same way, yeah.
The only difference I would say is with Blink, they have songs where one guy might sing the whole song and one guy might sing a whole another song, whereas we didn't really do that. Every single song we sang pretty much equally on, as far as the amount of stuff we sang, and then we didn't really have songs where we sang singly through the whole song like Blink does, but we went off that idea where we sang half and half, and but yeah, Blink was kind of influenced on the vocal style.
Yeah,
sure.
And continuing on that, and I think we didn't even really think about this that much, but a lot of the people that I've talked to that have listened to the EP, they tell me they almost get like a 2002 kind of vibe from it, and I think that's coming from when we were growing up and in all the bands and everything. We had a lot of like Green Day influence, and especially Blink-182, and just that 90s, early 2000s alternative kind of style. It just kind of happened to fall into it.
Yep.
And the overall outcome really has that mix between new pop punk / alternative whatnot, and just that old school 90s just feel.
Mm-hmm.
It has best of both worlds essentially, in acoustic format.
Yep, in acoustic format.
So
yeah, for us, those were big inspirations on the writing of everything that you hear on State of Mind. So, anything else on that as far as inspirations?
No, I mean that was it. Like,
yeah,
I pretty much.
And speaking on 4 Year Strong, we saw them in March.
Yep.
3 months ago in Iowa City at Gabe's, and that show was awesome. It was a small show. Venue was felt like 10 feet wide, the room was, but it was super cool. I hopped on stage with them at one point and crowd surfed and sang along. It was cool. But on to the next stuff. So the State of Mind track list.
Okay.
So we have 6 songs on this EP, and we recorded these songs in an order that is different than what the final EP is. So the final EP song order is Hindsight, These Thoughts, Ghosts, Golden Moments, Coming Home, and Sink or Swim. And I guess we can just go a little bit about why we chose that order. If you've listened to the EP, this is why they're in this order. Hindsight, we chose as the first track because it starts off with one single acoustic guitar, and that just kind of signals
just explodes.
This is an acoustic album. Here's an acoustic guitar. It's just one acoustic guitar, simple. And then about 10 seconds in, it comes in with every single instrument that you hear on the entire EP is right on that 10-second mark or whatever.
It's at 14 seconds.
14 seconds is when it comes in.
Yeah.
You hear every instrument that's in the entire EP. So, and it has this really cool, like he was talking about earlier, it gave Chris goosebumps when he heard it. Like, I thought that was just the for sure starting track on this EP.
Mm-hmm.
So, next was These Thoughts. We went into that one next because it has a somewhat similar feel. All these songs are you definitely have their own identity, but they had this similar kind of style, I guess. But it just felt right next to it, like transitioned nicely into it. Then we went to Ghosts,
which is a big change. Ghosts and These Thoughts
Yeah, very different. These Thoughts are very mellow and melodic, and Ghosts is more dark and driven. There's a very cool vibe on Ghosts. So we want to throw that in the middle. Then after that is Golden Moments, which switches more to a upbeat, not necessarily a pop punk feel, or definitely not a pop punk feel, but it's just more of a pop, acoustic pop, I guess, if that's a thing. Melodic song, and that transitions into the next song nicely. Coming Home, that pop punk styled song I was talking about from when I was influenced by Neck Deep. And then ending on Sink or Swim, which was a pretty obvious choice for the closer of the EP. Super cool vibe on that one, and especially with how it ends.
Yeah.
I remember writing and having this vision with the end, and we ended up doing this electric, basically guitar battle at the very end, and just with just a really big cajon playing, and it turned out really cool as far as being the last ending track. I think it ended nicely. So that's our kind of a little bit of our reasoning as far as the order. Any thoughts on that? More thoughts on that?
I think you covered it perfectly as far as the reason why everything is the way it is in order.
Yep. And I guess we can say that here now, that that order right there was not the order we recorded the songs in. Like I spoke it earlier, we wrote songs in bits and pieces, and we didn't write Hindsight and finish it, and then went on to These Thoughts and finished it. And what we did was we wrote parts, and then we would record as we go. We would make sure we had the entire structure of the song as far as an acoustic rhythm guitar. So if you just sat down and played it, it would sound like a full song. You had a good structure of it, is what we did. So we ended up, like he said, we actually recorded Coming Home and These Thoughts on a different mic than the one we're using now.
Oh yeah, yep.
Which we ended up tossing out because we decided this has got to sound better than this, and we went and bought this mic. It was a great investment, but then I remember
while buying that
on Mixcraft, as far as like the project on Mixcraft that we had, the order was Ghosts,
yep,
These Thoughts, Coming Home, Golden Moments,
yep,
Hindsight, and Sink or Swim, and that was the order that we were writing / recording.
Other than
the process.
Other than Ghost was actually after These Thoughts and Coming Home.
Right.
Because we had to restart and we just decided to do Ghost first for whatever reason.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So, different order on the final EP, and that's why. So, next we were going to go into about each song individually. So, actually, quick before we do that, the instruments, we kind of already touched about the gear we used, but basically the instruments in each song, like we said, every song has a different vibe and feel, and so you were more selective with which instruments you used. Like an electric guitar felt a little less necessary on some parts more than others.
You want to show the checklist?
Yeah,
I guess that kind of would show all the instruments and all the songs.
So this notebook here, this sheet right here is the checklist we use for our EP. I'll zoom in. It's got all the songs there at the top, and then on the side is all the parts that need to be recorded. So if you go down and you see orchestra, Ryan's rhythm acoustic, Evan's rhythm acoustic, bass, my lead vocals, Evan's lead vocals, and so on. Where you see X's, that's where a thing wasn't recorded. So maybe I didn't do electric guitar on a song, or you didn't do a certain part on some song, and then the check marks signal the stuff we did do. And we just checked that off along as we went, writing the EP, and yep, it's got all the instruments there. So yeah, the feel of the song kind of determined the use of each instrument, although we did pretty much use all those instruments in pretty much every song. And then right before we go into the individual songs, just the experience of, just your personal experience with recording each one. So so we always would start out with rhythm guitar acoustics, and you want to kind of talk about the reason why you do it in this order. Like,
I guess, I mean,
like
not everyone has to go in this order. Obviously, everybody has a different, take. Most people use, percussion first.
Right.
But what we decided to do was we did the rhythms first because that's how we wrote.
Yep.
Those are the steps that we wrote. We always wrote the rhythms first. Well, most of the time, not always. And then after that, we would add leads, usually lead guitars.
Yep.
Whether that's acoustic or electric. Some songs have acoustic leads, some have electric leads, and some have both.
Yep.
Followed by the bass.
Yep.
And I guess the leads and the bass kind of, it depends on the song.
Yep.
As far as the order goes that we recorded them in. The bass was super, super fun. It wasn't, I don't want to say stressful, because none of it was stressful, it was fun. But it was just, the bass was just like, it was so much fun to record and just write.
Yeah. So basically what we did is once we recorded both of our rhythms. For example, you just take a song, we had both of our rhythm guitars done on it, and then we wanted to put bass on it. So everything you hear on the EP as far as bass was, again, basically anything you hear on the EP is split half and half between us two. As far as writing, recording, and producing is half and half. So bass, we would plug in the bass, play the song that had the rhythms, and we would just write bass parts to it and give feedback. Oh, this sounds cool. No, maybe try that different, or put a slide here, or don't do that. No, do the lower version. Or we would just write with the bass and then agree on a part and then record it. And bass was fun, and bass gives a really nice sound to this EP. As far as like what he's talking about is as stressful as like with bass when you record. It's pretty simple as far as we recorded bass with a pick. There are also other parts we did with finger pick, so we got a little bit of both feels. But bass recording was a little bit easier.
More relaxed. It was
a little more relaxed. The parts were easier to play, a little bit more simple. It recorded direct in through.
We recorded direct input, so we didn't have to worry about background noise, which is a big thing we didn't bring up. We recorded, like we said, recorded in my bedroom in my apartment.
Yep.
And anybody who has lived in an apartment knows that you live with other people, which can be loud sometimes.
And around other people.
Yeah. And, you got all sorts of stuff going on. And when you're using a condenser mic that picks up everything, somebody listening to a TV in the other room, or somebody starts the washing machine, we got to start this track all over again because, is in the soundtrack now, so.
If someone coughs 2 rooms down in the middle of while you're recording a track, in the last seconds of you finishing a track, you got to restart. So it was stressful in that sense. Acoustic guitar, you were sitting on this stool.
Yeah.
You had to face a certain direction to record it on this Bluebird mic, and everything had to be perfectly quiet, and you had to play it absolutely perfect because that's how it's going to be on the EP. And so just getting that right was definitely one of the hardest parts, was getting the rhythms recorded.
So the bass was super fun.
Yep.
Not stressful at all. And then after we got done with the foundation instruments, which is what I like to call them, we started with like the orchestraic instruments that I talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that was just kind of like just trying to figure out what sounded good where, what pattern sounded good. We had to find something that sounded catchy and nice, but didn't match the vocals too much.
Yep.
Which was kind of a tough part.
That was a tough part.
It did take quite a long time to get those finalized.
Sometimes we would start writing the orchestra parts before we had vocals. Other times we did have the vocals, which was nice before. Because then when you're trying to do orchestra, you're like, okay, don't do this because it's following the vocal pattern right beside it. Like it's too similar. So having the vocals there already and then writing around it was nice. But that part was a little hard. And that's a lot of learning I did on the computer. I learned a ton with the whole Mixcraft process, and I'll go into that later, I guess. But as far as the orchestra, learning how to make write the parts basically, and record them. The cajon, you can talk.
Yeah. So after those are all done, we took a week, and Chase just wrote and recorded all of the cajon on all 6 songs, and so
you might have had damn good cajon player, because there's only so many beats you can play on a cajon, and you listen to every song.
Remember, it's a box.
Yep.
You know, you.
There's only so many beats you can play, and he had 6 songs, and I think he did a great job of giving each song its own feel. So listen to each song, and you can hear that in the cajon parts. But yeah, they took a week. I couldn't be there a certain weekend, so they did it during the week while they were both at school. But you want to talk about how you kind of recorded cajon?
So I talked about before, we used the Bluebird mic to record the front of it, and then behind him we used the Shure SM58 for the kick side, the more bass end, I guess, of the cajon. And again, I don't want to use the word stressful, like I said before, but we were using the condenser mic, so we had to make sure that there was no background sounds while playing. Other than that, I mean, he pretty much knocked it out of the park. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of retracking going on. That was probably one of the quickest recording components of the EP. And we knocked it out in less than a week, so.
Yep, you already talked about electric guitars. Vocals, obviously. Also, we used the Bluebird mic. The setup for that, we basically turned his closet into like a vocal room, recording room, and just put these big blankets in the backs of the closet and opened the doors up, and so it was like this big half circle with the mic in the middle there, and that's where we tracked all vocals, and vocals were basically the last things that went on the EP as far as things that got recorded.
So another thing that I forgot to mention was not only did we have to worry about the sounds from like washing machines and people coughing and whatnot, but the air conditioning was super loud. So when we recorded, we had to turn it off, and you're kind of stressing out because you have to play this part perfectly. So you're sweating, and it's getting hot, and it's like 100 degrees in the room. Probably not 100 degrees, but
it feels like
it feels like 100 degrees, and oh man!
And you can't have the AC on because it's gonna pick it up on the mic. So you have to be that way. So, and same with, I think you're talking about guitars, but same with vocals. Like you're using the same exact mic, just doing vocals, and it'll pick up everything, and it gets hot in there. And
Shay's doing the cajon. He's moving his body.
Yeah.
And there's no air conditioning.
Yep. And I mean, these songs are belting out vocals on a lot of these songs. So it gets hot. But those, I think, are all the instruments that you hear on there. So that was the kind of the experience of recording each one. So now we'll just go into each song individually, just going straight down the list as it appears on the EP. So first song, Hindsight. I talked a little bit already about this one, but it's one that I just came home one night and was playing around on guitar, and I found some really cool chords I liked and got them in a pattern I liked, and then same with the vocals on this one too, just came like that. It was just flowing right with the chords, and I had them down, and I remember that took just a couple nights, and then when I went up on Friday and I showed those guys, I had the whole song on rhythms and lyrics pretty much too, and nothing changed too much as far as lyrics and composition of the rhythm guitar on that song. So the lyrics on that song's called Hindsight. Pretty straightforward on the meaning. It's about hindsight. I guess before I get into the lyrics too much on each song, is we again, 50-50. We wrote lyrics half and half on the EP, you hear them, and we tried to write the lyrics in a way that weren't too descriptive of our own topics we were trying to write about, life experience or whatever it may be. We tried to write it in a way that they could be relatable to the people who listen, and I think we did a good job of that. And this song, Hindsight, is about hindsight, but basically it's just looking back at things, and it's not necessarily a sad song, but it's just more like a kind of a looking back song. Like, the verses entail like in like moments where you are just kind of, if you're just sitting there, you're looking back and you're looking at these moments where you could have done something different, or not necessarily you could have done some different also, but just maybe what would happen if it was like this, or hindsight. And then the chorus goes into the idea of you're in this hindsight mood, and it's when you're maybe kind of feeling sad or down. It's the lyric, find the light within dark, is like when you're kind of in this dark place or sad place, and you find the things that make you happy, or something to get you out of that hindsight mindset type of thing, is what the chorus is. And then the bridge kind of goes into like surpassing all that. Like, you're not gonna deal with hindsight anymore. You're gonna live in the now and the present, and you know what you need to do to be happy with things as they are now, and so later on you won't have any hindsight or second thoughts. So as far as the lyrics, that's that one.
Yeah, it's like looking back at your past and kind of learning and using what you learned for the future, and not necessarily just like bad things that happened in the past, but also recognizing all the good things that have happened, and applying that to make yourself feel better, and things to look forward to, and whatnot.
It's not a sad song, and it's not like a necessarily happy song either, but it definitely gives you some sort of feel in it. So that is Hindsight. Next is These Thoughts. That like we spoke on, was the very first song that we started writing rhythm guitars for, and lyrics too also, because once we had the rhythms done on that song, we started writing lyrics. And this one, as far as the arrangement of the vocals, as far as like how the words flow and kind of the pitches of each word, very heavily influenced by Blink on this one for me, I personally think. I definitely think on the choruses too. I tried to write it like kind of Mark Hoppus of Blink-182 writes his melodies of his songs. So if you listen to that, I think you'll be able to hear that inspiration in that. So that song has that kind of feel. The meaning of the lyrics, this one got changed around a lot. At the beginning, when we started out, this song was called Moon Song because there was a lyric in this chorus that said, I'm waking up to the rising moon, which is not in there now, but for the longest time that song was called the Moon Song. And then later on got changed to These Thoughts. But that song, as far lyrically, kind of goes into, for me, I think it's about when you have like a million thoughts running through your mind. Doesn't matter if it's bad or good, just more so just thoughts. Like we sing about it in the chorus, sinking into your mind. It's like your mind turns to like a quicksand. Like, you just have so many thoughts that your mind's just going crazy. And so just kind of the experience of having all those thoughts and trying to give attention to each one and what each one's about. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on that song? Do you have these thoughts? These thoughts?
I have so many thoughts on these thoughts. Oh man.
As far as the lyrical content.
The lyrical content, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It is what it is. These thoughts,
Yeah.
It's a very imaginative song.
Yeah.
You know.
And the feel of that one is more melodic, I would say. It has a Blink vibe in it.
Yeah,
definitely for me.
Just that introduction, you can just hear that very first note of the song, and you could say, oh, that's These Thoughts. I know for sure.
Yep.
For
sure. So yep. Yeah, that was These Thoughts. Next song was Ghosts. I'm trying not to skip too much or certain parts in each song. I'm trying to make sure we got everything. But next is Ghosts. That's the third track.
I remember Ghosts kind of formed from this really strange riff that I wrote, where
I got a few words.
It's like and you guys won't understand what I'm talking about here, but that riff kind of transposed into the pre-chorus, kind of, in a way, and I know that's more of the song structure itself, but I know it's just funny looking back on that.
Yeah. So Ghosts is the third track. And I remember coming up to Ames one weekend to record and write, and this was back like in the first month or two, September, October, and he had this part that he had written on his own time. It was just this 8-count, 4-chord piece, and had some chords in there I'd never played. And then I put one little part on top of it. It was a different chord. It sounded super cool, and so it started from that. This song has a little more of a dark feel, and Our Last Night vibe in it, definitely. And fun fact, the intro of that song came directly inspirational from that Oak Island EP I was talking about earlier, and specifically the title track Oak Island. That intro where they do the high 2-string part is where we got our little intro. That part inspired from that part. So that was the intro on that. Has these dark feels throughout the song. The lyrics on that song is about ghosts, meaning these ghosts it could be a range of different things. It could be just experiences from the past that were not good for you, and they kind of haunt you to today. Maybe in real life, maybe just kind of in your head. Things that you when you go to bed at night, they're just there on the head of your mind, and they just kind of keep you up, and you can't fall asleep, and your eyes are open. It's just kind of like a chilling sensation of these ghosts. Whatever your ghost maybe would a vice or a experience or a choice that was bad in the past and is kind of there with you today still.
And I love how we planned out These Thoughts, and then right after it goes into Ghosts, because you have, These Thoughts, and then you go into Ghosts where it's more of the darker thoughts. And then we'll get to it after this one, but then right after that you get to Golden Moments, which is the positive thoughts, or the more lighthearted, happier thoughts. So it's kind of a cool just how it segues into that.
So third track, Ghosts, that is what that one is all about. Fourth track is Golden Moments, and like he said, that's also about all of these songs, we'll get on to it later, but it speaks about time and thoughts were some big themes. But Golden Moments was a song that I was actually, there was one week where I was listening to State Champs a lot, and it was their acoustic stuff, their Acoustic Things album, and I remember just kind of trying to play things that sounded kind of like that, and I came up with this riff. It was like dun 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 dun, and showed E that, and we ended up writing a song based on that whole dun 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 pattern. Ended up changing the chorus to a full strum rather than a staggered pattern. And it has this kind of brighter pop feel to it. Lyrically, that song is about kind of just reminiscing on old good times.
I mean, that one is definitely the lyrics speak for themselves. As far as the verse lyrics, it's just it's directly, you're looking back on all the great times that you had.
Yep. And like we said, we didn't try to make it like too crazy specific to us,
Right.
but relatable enough for other people too, but enough to show that it's the stuff we were experienced. But so yeah, it goes into a lot of fun past experiences we've had and all that cool stuff. Influence on, I already talked about that one, State Champs influence on that one. So that was the fourth one, Golden Moments. Fifth song.
Well, before you go on to that one, I just want to throw in another random thing. The bridge on that song,
the
lyrics kind of changed around a little bit, but the final lyrics that you hear, that cheers part, was so fun to do.
Yep. So what we did was there's a lyric in that bridge, on the second half of that bridge, where we do a group vocal where we all say cheers. And what we actually did was that weekend when we recorded that part, I had a buddy from college, Jake Danker, who was actually visiting in town, and it was E and I and Jake, and we got together and we got some alcohol beverages bottles from the freezer, and basically we all each held like 4 or 2 of them and then clinked them all together in front of the mic. For that part is what you hear in that song, and then of course the big cheers part, we yelled that part. So
I mean, this has nothing to do with the EP, but funny little teen time story. I remember our roommate Chris was graduating at the time, and we were outside showing Jake the EP, the songs that we had so far, and Chris left to go to his graduation, and he locked the door, and we didn't have any keys, so we actually had to have Ryan climb up the back of the apartment to get in.
Yep.
To break in.
Yep.
I remember that was the same day that we recorded the cheers.
Yep. Golden moments. So.
Golden moments.
Yep. So track 5 is Coming Home, and that song transitioned, I think, pretty nice from Golden Moments. It's a very upbeat song, positive song, fun song. Like I said, it was, for me, the parts I wrote on it, influenced by Neck Deep, had this pop punk feel. The guitar part specifically, I remember being influenced by A Day to Remember's acoustic version of another song about the weekend. So you can kind of hear that in there. As far as the lyrics, I came up with those when I was writing the guitar, like I said, in September, because E and Chase had gone back to school. I graduated now, but it's something that had just crossed my mind. Is like I said, we've been best friends for a long time. We've got quite a few other buddies. We were all a really close group of friends, and we all went to high school together, and then we all went off to college, to different colleges, and we all kind of split off in different ways. And that song, I wanted to write a song about basically the experience of you're so close with all your buddies here and now, and then now you all have to depart, you're off for 4 years, and you don't know anybody in these new places we're all going to, but you want to, when you come back home, you want to pick up where you left off with your old buddies and make sure everything's cool and like it was before you left. So that's the I guess the reasoning behind that song. Any thoughts on that one?
No. I think you again hit the nail on the head there. I mean, you primarily wrote most of the lyrics on that song.
Yep, but so, I was going to say it in a minute, but I just have a memory, just one that sticks out, is there was a weekend where I came up and we had the rhythms all done for this song and a couple of the leads, and we were wanting to work on vocals, and we just sat down, blasted the song, and just started writing everything that came to mind that was in the theme of that song. and we just kind of wrote and then just sang ideas back and forth, and that sounded cool, and we're like, oh, that sounds awesome. And I remember he wrote a line, fuel my nostalgia, cure my state of mind. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I had a few other lines, and then we just put them all in, and that part was fun, definitely. So that was track 5, and then that transitions into the last track 6, Sink or Swim, which for the longest time was just called Song 6 because it was the last one we're working on. It's just Song 6.
Sometimes we accidentally still call it Song 6.
Sometimes, yep. We're getting better though. But now entitled Sink or Swim. That song, as far as lyrically, he had the idea on that song, if you want to talk about that one.
Yeah, I mean, the album artwork.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
But as far as like the lyrically, what's it about?
So, it's like you're drowning. It feels like I'm drowning is the last line of the choruses, and I think that it's kind of taking, these thoughts concept and multiplying it by, 1 billion, and you're just so overwhelmed that you just have all these things going on.
These thoughts is more about the thoughts, but Sink or Swim is more, the responsibilities and pressures.
Yeah, you have the responsibilities. Yeah.
Responsibilities, pressures.
So just everything.
All that on your shoulders, and it just kind of feels like you're drowning. And with that song, we tried to make the lyrics we tried to translate them in a way to kind of be a little story of like if you envisioned it with the lyrics, it was like you were at sea, and it was like a crazy storm, and you were in the storm, and the storm represents the pressures and the responsibilities and the drowning and all the craziness of it. We just felt like you're in a storm. So
it's very, the composition of the song is very story oriented. I mean, at the very beginning, it's kind of the thought of, I have all these responsibilities, I don't know if I'm able to handle it because of just how insane it is, and then you can slowly start to see the storm kind of form, and then all of a sudden you hit the quiet bridge, and that's kind of like right before the storm.
Yep.
And like the calm before the storm, saying, and then you have the final chorus, and then all of a sudden we go into this like dueling kind of guitar riff, which is supposed to like kind of stand for like the storm that is happening, and it's like right at the end of the EP. It's just like everything all of a sudden just leads up to this, and then dun dun dun, and then just leaves like so much questions and suspense. It's just
the composition of that song is really special. It's different than every other song. It's really cool. I think the feel of that song, the verses are just 2 acoustic guitars with single strummed notes between the 2 of us, and then you get a few cajones in there, and then the bass and electric guitars come in, and then everything comes together on the choruses and pre-choruses, and then the bridge was something totally new we tried to do. This is the only bridge where we don't really sing. The person you hear on the bridge is E doing a spoken word vocal part, which turned out really cool.
Yeah, that song was definitely the most dynamically diverse. It was just, a lot of the songs are very diverse, but this song was just, you had just sections where there were just a few instruments, and then you had sections where it was just everything was going on.
Yep. Yep. And then as far as vocals, I guess we didn't really say before, but there's a few songs, and it's on that checklist I showed earlier, but there's songs where we do group vocals.
Oh, yeah.
They're not on every song, but I do know they're on Coming Home,
Sink or Swim,
and then there's
Golden Moments, if you want to call the cheers.
The bridge on Golden Moments. There's a group vocal singing part on These Thoughts.
Yeah.
I think that's all of them, but so it has everything in there as far as vocals on that too. And then backup vocals too. We did a lot of backup vocals. This was at the very, very end of the recording process, the last things that got tracked on the project.
Yeah, I mean, it was like right before we were moving back, and we had to move my computer back to my parents' house because I live here. Well, I work over the summer, and so we were kind of getting to this point where we had to just hurry up and finish all these backing vocals because we had like 1 day left.
Yeah, there were songs where we had backing vocals written at the time, like something would just come to us. For example, like the chorus of Golden Moments, I would sing a lead part and he does this part where he sings a backing behind it, and that we came up with right kind of on the spot. We wrote the lyrics, but other stuff it was when the song was all the way done, we said, okay, this spot sounds kind of empty, let's put this here, or let's try this here, or let's try a double here, and just threw in backing vocals where we thought necessary. And backing vocals, again, about 50-50 we recorded. Half and half on that too. So those are all the 6 songs, basically the style of each one, what influenced the style, like the band and the songs that did, what we were feeling at the time, the instruments used, the meaning behind the lyrics and the story. I guess we have here the vibes and feel of each instrument. I think I already kind of talked about that, but like there's certain parts that are gonna sound, I think, better without a certain part. Like there's parts where we would write something and we would take it out, whether it be orchestra, viola, or an electric guitar part. So we did that. A day in the life of recording was...
A day in the life of recording.
Yeah, so...
The average day?
You kind of touched on it earlier, but basically I would come up every Friday night, and we'd do stuff on Friday night. Not really recording because it'd be
too late,
too loud and late, but like just writing lyrics, writing guitar parts, writing wherever we were at in the recording process. So if we had a song halfway done, we could plug in an electric guitar and write a part, or test parts, and or we would write orchestra or edit cajon or something like that. But that was a Friday night. Saturday would be a lot of work on a Saturday.
Saturdays were the busy days.
And Sunday too. I mean, the whole weekend was.
Yeah, but Saturday was like, we woke up, did some stuff like get ready, lift, and then after that it would be like, all right, we're gonna record from noon to 10 o'clock. Yeah. And we did. we were
pretty strict with our schedule, and we followed it pretty good. I think we did a good job. We would pick a time on each day. We said, okay, tomorrow we're going to get up and lift at this time, and we're going to start recording at this time and be done at this time and have this amount of stuff done at this particular time.
I think a lot of that too was kind of changed later. I think a lot of it we learned, because at the very beginning we weren't very strict on anything, and we were really slow, and we had to redo things and everything, and we slowly started to learn, this is the way things need to be. And then as things got more strict and we learned from them, then things started to speed up way more. Yep. Yeah, and that's when we really started to plan out, like, this is what we have to do tomorrow. We have to do this next week. And,
we literally had an Excel sheet with a schedule with 8 weeks ahead of where we were, showing, okay, this is what we're doing each week, and all the way up to the very last week where the EP would come out. We had an idea of what we wanted to get done, and we stuck pretty well to that. But it was a lot of work for sure. So, and same with Sunday, it's pretty much the same thing. Get up, lift, come back and record whatever we had going on for the day, whether it be recording his acoustic or recording my lead vocal or recording...
I'd say the average weekend, 16 to 24 hours usually of work?
Absolutely. And remember, I was up there every single weekend, give or take a few weekends where I couldn't be from October to May,
Mm-hmm.
times however many hours within each weekend. It was a lot of work, but definitely worth it. So that's just kind of what it was like each weekend. So at this point we had the EP pretty much done in a sense, but also during the week when I wasn't there, E would work on the project on his own time. He put a lot of work into it on his own time as well. As far as like the tones, if you want to go into a little bit about that, as far as the instrument tones.
Yeah. So the big portion of this comes from the acoustics. We did a little bit of I don't know what the right word to use here, more spontaneous kind of process.
Mm-hmm.
So
like I said, we were learning through this whole thing.
Yeah, we were learning. We learned so much. I learned so much about audio production and engineering. It was insane. And so like I was saying, the acoustic tone changed. I don't know, maybe like 12 times.
A lot of times.
It was what we would do is after the weekend was over, we would mix down the tracks that as they were on that Sunday right before you left, so you could listen to them on the way home.
Yep.
And just it was cool listening to them every single weekend to see how it changed.
Yep. And
we have like at least 20 some versions of every single song
per song. Yeah.
So it's cool just kind of like listen to how it all changed.
Yep.
So yeah, the acoustics, like I said, those changed like 12 or so times. And then a big one was the electric guitars. A lot of those we had like a feel, like we knew what we wanted for the electric tones, but we didn't really know how to get there because we were, like I said, we had to learn a lot. And so a lot of it was just kind of experimentation, just like playing the riff that we had planned out on 10 or so different electric guitar tone tracks until we found one that was like, that sounds nice and good.
Yep, that sounds good and nice.
Good and nice.
And there were a lot of electric guitar tones used throughout the EP.
The big two that stand out for me are, one, we use the beginning of Ghosts. That tone, for some reason, just sticks out like crazy to me. And then two is the very ambient feeling lead guitar on the verses of These Thoughts.
Yep.
Those two just stick out to me like crazy for some reason.
I was going to speak on that, but yeah, I agree. I wrote the lead guitar you hear on These Thoughts on the verses is what you hear is from me, and then we both did the intro to Ghosts, but I was going to speak on that too. The lead guitars, we tried a ton of different tones, just getting the right vibe of the guitar on a certain song that we're doing. Two that stand out to me still today are Ghosts, the bridge of Ghosts.
Yeah.
He freaking that lead on that bridge is so cool, like that.
And the pre-choruses too are sweet.
Yeah, that's just very nice on that job. And then the chorus of These Thoughts, he wrote this really very cool mellow lead. I didn't say that.
That was the first lead that we wrote.
Yep, he wrote that one.
That was the first lead that was written in the whole entire EP lifetime.
Yep. So like I said, we wrote everything 50-50. So 50% of the leads you hear are me and that I wrote and I recorded. But those are just a couple of my favorite of his that are on there. But
and another thing with the electric lead tones, after mastering, sometimes they could sound completely different, and most of the time it sounded even better. The big thing that I noticed was the lead on Hindsight. I mean, you'd listen to it during the mixing stage and everything, and it sounds sweet. Mm-hmm. But then when you really listen to the final mastered track through like a car speaker or something, you can really hear that lead really just shoot through the track. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. And
it's nice feeling.
I was very proud of my verses I wrote on Hindsight. Those took quite a while to write, and I think I got it just how I wanted them. and the tone was really sweet that you found for that.
It just like, just when you listen to that, you can just hear that electrically. It just shoot right through all the other instruments.
Yep. Yeah. So he talked about the tones, like what he did as far as mixing or the sounds of each instrument. Do you want to talk at all about kind of like the vocals? So we already talked about how we record vocals with the whole closet space with the mic there, and but as far as like getting the sound of the vocals, how we wanted them. Like you don't just record you don't really just record in a dry track and that's your vocal. You record a vocal, you do a line 5, 10, 50 times, maybe even sometimes you would record a single line, and you always take your best track and then you go in and pitch correct it just a little bit, and then as far as like the actual tone of it, there's different ways you mess around with it to make it sound the best.
Yeah, I won't go too far into the technical side of that because a lot of it is kind of like our secret. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as far as that goes, I mean, it's, you have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Just listen to it.
It turned out how we liked and how we wanted it. So, and then next we went into mixing. So, I mean, so we backtrack for a second. We go back to where we have everything recorded on the project on Mixcraft that we wanted to have on the EP was on there, and at that point that day we moved everything out of the studio, his apartment, back to hometown, and had the project on the computer, which we then while we were working this the whole time in Ames, we would be mixing parts. We would be panning things to the left and the right, checking what sounds better, see if things sound better in the middle, certain volume levels with certain parts, trimming parts, but basically when we got everything we wanted on the computer, on the file, and we were working on it here, what we did was basically to sit down, listen to each song individually quite a few times, and we each had a list where we would go through and write down parts where we thought something needed to change, not as far as how the song went, but like there's like, it was little stuff like, oh, the guitar in the left speaker needs to come up 15% on this 5-second part, or the cajon beat, the one snare beat on second 37 of track 6 needs to be, this part of the left, and just little stuff like that was some of the last stuff we did, and that was about a week to 2 weeks before we eventually released the EP. Any words on that process, that finishing process?
So the stage when we went from mixing to mastering. Yeah.
So we can talk about that next.
It was just a lot of like, well, I mean that's you pretty much knocked all that stuff out. But as far as mastering goes, mastering was kind of stressful because it was like we've been working on this thing for like, however many 9-10 months.
We had made the joke that that this EP was our baby because it took 9 months to make, and a lot of work put into it. But yeah, when it got to the mastering, we just wanted to make sure it was like what we hear is what we wanted, for sure. It's like
with this whole thing, it's like we open this up. Well, I open this up every single day, almost. And then every weekend, every day on the weekend, he would be here, we'd open it up too. And it's like, all right, this is the last time that we are going to open this up.
Yeah. So
does it sound as good? Like, can it sound any better?
Yeah. Can it sound any better?
And, I mean, that was it. Like, it had to be it had to be perfect because that's how people are going to hear it. We couldn't go back and say,
Yeah.
oh, never mind, we need
Yeah.
to fix this and resend it out.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of just listening to it through speakers, listening through headphones, earphones, car speakers, different car speakers.
Yep.
Just really
Listening to it in all situations and environments.
Yeah, and just making sure that just everything sounds good. And like you said, there were so many parts that were just kind of like I would say this backing vocal needs to come up 10%, and then you'd be like,
Well,
oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
you know?
I didn't catch that.
And so it was amazing having another set of ears to really
Mhm.
hear what the other person didn't hear.
Yep. So, of course, the end goal of all of this work was it was just to say we made an EP and hey, we have this EP and we have it forever.
Mm-hmm.
But with the other main goal is just to get it out. We wanted to eventually distribute it, so we did a little bit of research. He did a lot of research to find a good one to distribute to. We were wanting to get the EP on iTunes first and foremost, and then also on Google Music, which we ended up successfully doing. Do you want to talk quick about how we went about doing that through CD Baby?
CD Baby, I mean, CD Baby is as far as what at the time that I've spent with them, perfect. I mean, we haven't had any problems with CD Baby. We did have one small problem with Spotify, but
it's fixed now.
It's fixed now.
Yep.
But anyway, CD Baby, perfect to work with. We didn't have any problems.
So tell them what it is. Like, it's basically
CD Baby is just a digital distributor. So you would pay them, and then they would do all the paperwork and everything, and then they send your music out to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, all those different types of music platforms. And I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about. It's literally like you fill out the information, you upload the stuff, and then they do it for you as long as it fits the guidelines and everything.
Yep.
So, and thankfully, our music fit the guidelines and it sounded professional enough. So
yeah, it was a pretty easy, straightforward process, and it got to our distributors pretty quickly, and
a lot quicker than the way we were quoted too.
Yep.
A lot quicker.
We'll talk about where it went in a minute, but yeah, 31 different musical digital distributors is where it's at. So before we even got to that process of sending it out, we needed a final piece, which was the album artwork of our EP, and we were super stoked about this portion of the EP.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to a point where we haven't talked about it yet, but we had our band name, we had our EP name, but we needed the artwork, and we're like, well, we need something. We've worked so hard on this EP, and now we want something, professional looking for our EP. And so we brainstormed, and remember there was this girl that goes to school at Iowa State, and we actually went to elementary school with her, and junior high and high school, and so we've known her for a while, and we remember that she's done some really great artwork, and her name's Taylor Campbell. And first and foremost, huge shout out and thank you to her.
I'll put a link to her.
Wherever this video goes, we'll put a link to her work or her page.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Taylor Campbell, for your work. We went to her and asked her if she'd be interested in creating from scratch our album artwork, and she said yes. So we basically brainstorming ideas, and he actually had the initial thought for the idea. It was, I don't think we have it here, but it was basically an hourglass.
Yeah, it was like just a side, like a kind of hourglass turned, and then broken, and then it had water instead of sand in it, and like a little ship, and that was the concept.
Yep.
Was just that, and it just kind of slowly started to emerge.
Yep. So we wanted the artwork to reflect like hint at every song on the EP, which the final product is awesome. I'll show you here in a minute. But we wanted to represent each song, and we think the main theme or themes in this EP is your thoughts and just time in general, whether that be experiences in past time or the now or future or whatever, but just time and thoughts. And we thought an hourglass like depicted that perfectly. And so we drew up an general idea, and added a few more components, and called Taylor up and said, hey, here's an idea, and she drew a sketch off of that, and then ended up sending us a picture, and I said, that looks great. And then she drew a final sketch of it, and then she went on to do color for it, which turned out really cool. So I'll show you.
Pop that up. Just watching it slowly kind of turn from just a concept to the full project was really cool to watch.
Yep. So I'm actually going to show you here quick. This is the album artwork. Let's see if it'll focus here. It's a little blurry, but you can see the hourglass there. It's a little blurry.
I'll probably just
he'll put up a picture, but the hourglass there in the middle, representing these thoughts, sinking into my mind, time, and hindsight, the hourglass representing that, the big ghost lurking behind the hourglass representing ghosts, same with the skulls at the bottom representing ghosts, the treasure chest at the bottom kind of fitting the whole storm at sea theme with sink or swim, and gold representing golden moments, the sea and storm in the background representing sink or swim. We didn't really plan it, but I think all the little skulls at the bottom represent these thoughts, just like all the various, like just a ton of thoughts each skull represents, I think. It's not very coming through, but the boat inside the hourglass there representing the song Coming Home, and there's a little anchor hanging off it with the number 7, which has significant meaning to us. So every single song in that little picture, and she did an awesome job in every aspect of it. And then if it'll pick it up, you can backtrack and you'll kind of see the process. So that's a half-colored version of the final sketch. That is the final sketch. That is the initial sketch. That, as far as just like that layout of where objects would be. And then just kind of the ideas we had for that was the initial.
That was the original.
The initial thought for the idea. So the artwork. Thank you again, Taylor Campbell. We were super stoked on the artwork. We think it's perfect for our EP and captured everything we wanted in it, basically. And she did it all in a very timely manner, and we got it pretty quick and uploaded it to CD Baby and got it out. And then before we get too far on that, we didn't talk about the band name, how it came about, and the song names, how they came about. So we talked a little bit earlier about how we would plan things out in an Excel sheet, and we chose one day. We were like, okay, this Sunday we need to have a band name chosen, and we didn't. But the end of Sunday came around, and you were leaving, and we're like, we still don't have a band name. Yep.
So then we pushed it back, and then the same thing happened. We pushed it back, and then finally we started writing all these concepts and ideas down that we liked, that matched our style, our feel, and what we found in the songs.
Yep.
What we could relate to.
We each had extensive lists of potential band names and just words that we thought sounded cool that were kind of our style. And there were potential band names we picked where I would pick a word from me and he would pick a word from mine, and one would come together. But eventually it came down to Night Like This, and just seemed like the right one. It was a good pick. As far as the song names, that was on a song by song basis. Hindsight just kind of came right away, like I already said, and stuck since the beginning. It's what the song is all about. These Thoughts, like we said, was originally Moon Song for a long time, and then eventually became These Thoughts once we got an official chorus for it. Ghosts, they got the song name a little while after we had wrote the main acoustic parts. We had been sitting down together and just writing lyrics, and then came up with Ghosts, and thought that was a good one. Golden Moments was another one that kind of just stuck from the beginning, because we had the chorus lyrics written before anything else, and that was one of the main parts. That one stuck. Coming Home,
which
was one that we picked a song for the longest time. That one was called the pop punk song. And that song name we chose later on down the road. It was probably this spring we chose the name. And that song, I had and he had a ton of song idea names. Now, this one I would be happy with 10 of the choices we had. That one was pretty easy to choose, or pretty easy to think of names, I thought. But the best one we thought fit was Coming Home. And then Sink or Swim, like I said.
This one was tough. This
was the last one. Like we said, for the longest time it was called Song 6 until we started writing lyrics for it. But it was the last song we chose to name.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this one was really tough compared to the other ones for some reason. I don't know why. But I think maybe because we had so many ideas, and eventually we just had to say, all right, this is the song name.
Yep. And
I think we made the right choice, because I think it fits really, really well with the idea of the song.
Yep, it does fit the idea. And even if you abbreviate the song Sink or Swim down to the letters SOS, it's like a call for help, which is kind of what the song is about. It was really cool, just a little thing there. So that's the names of the song, and then the EP name was the last kind of thing that came about next to the artwork. So we had to have that before we did the artwork, or Taylor did the artwork.
So, do you remember what happened with the EP name? We came down to two decisions.
Yep. So this, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yep. So basically, we had tried to write ideas. We were writing EP name ideas at the same time we were writing band names, and just trying to write things that encompassed what the whole EP was about. Which again, we were trying to go back to that, the thoughts and the mind and time and like that all together somehow. And we would write, and we didn't really find anything we liked totally. But by the time we got a hold of Taylor, we still didn't have an official one. So he was over at my place one night, and we needed to send Taylor our EP name because she needed to know where the font went on the actual picture, because at this point CD Baby had been pretty much ready to go other than the artwork, and we had gotten a list down and we each picked our favorites, and there were two that we agreed on. One was State of Mind, and then which is actually a lyric from Coming Home, verse, and the other one was Time, which is called Time. And then when we called Taylor, and she picked up, and we still didn't have a decision between the two, and so we asked her to put her on hold for a second, and then we just said, all right, on three, let's just pick one. And then 1, 2, 3, State of Mind, and we both said that one, so we just went with that one. So, but yeah, I think it was the right choice. Super.
I like it.
Super awesome name and lyric in that song, so I think it's a very good choice. So yeah, once we had the names and we got it to Taylor and where we wanted it on the artwork, she got the artwork back, finished. We loved it. I literally, when she messaged me the picture, I literally dropped to my knees and my jaw dropped. You were there. I literally opened up. I dropped to my knees. My jaw dropped. I was like, it was just like a moment. Like we had been working on this thing for 9 months, and like there was like the last thing, and it was right there, and we had it all. And so we got together, Ian and I, and we went on CD Baby. Went through that whole process you kind of talked about, and then submitted it, and got a confirmation email back from CD Baby saying, we received your submission. We'll email you back in a couple days to get some final things settled, and then it'll be off for distribution. And then it went off, and that's when we got it on iTunes within less than a week, I think it was. Same with Google Music. And then it total was 31 different distributors, those being two big ones. It's also on Spotify, Pandora, any other big ones that stand out.
Apple
Shazam,
Music,
Apple
Shazam,
Music.
yeah. Pretty much everything. Everything you can imagine.
Yep.
It's on there.
Yep. So what we did was, we announced that we had this EP out. I guess before I get to that, back when we decided the band name, Night Like This, the next weekend or so, Chase, and I all got together and got a hold of their roommate Chris, and we went out and did pictures, got some pretty, cool looking photos for the band, and then made a Facebook page for the band, which is now out there, the official page, Night Like This. So on that page, we released an announcement with the final EP, or I guess when we first made the pages, we announced our band name and that we'd have stuff coming along the way, and we posted little updates as we went, but then made the announcement that it was out on iTunes and Google Music and all those other distributors, and it was a pretty big day for us. We spent like quite a few hours just like getting it ready for release on that day. And then so we've got some reactions back and responses, and it's been pretty cool to see like what people think of your work that you've been working on the past 9-10 months. And of course all immediate family wanted to hear it and listen to it right away, and everyone bought it. I mean, it's on iTunes, so it's available for purchase, and so people checked it out and were very positive of it, and some people that I don't know have listened to it, and I've had to show it to people that I don't really know just because word of mouth. They're like, oh, hey, can I hear your EP? And I'm like, yeah, here it is. And but I mean, family, friends, just a lot of different connections. Ian, Chase know people that I don't know that have heard it, and I know people that they don't know that have heard it, and but good reactions overall, and I think that was just a super cool thing, like getting messages back from people with their thoughts on it, and just like responses, and like I just remember Nate. I have a buddy Nate, our buddy Nate. I passed him on the road one day, and it was actually right by my house, and we both pulled him to my driveway, and I hadn't seen him since before the EP, or not beginning, but like a month or so, and he pulled up. I was like, guys, I listened to your EP, and it was so good. It literally almost brought me to tears, and I connected the song, and I totally knew what Coming Home was about, and that was super cool. I just thought like people vibing to it, and just the responses, and then like a lot of other people just kind of hearing their favorites. Like, we tried to write a whole bunch of different feels, and I'm so glad that people like react in different.
It's cool too, because I didn't talk to you about this, but like everyone that I've talked to about the EP, I always ask them, what song is your favorite? And It's always different.
It's always different.
People like this, or they like different song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I couldn't tell you like what the most popular song is because everyone likes different songs. It's cool.
Yep. Everyone, yeah. The same with me. Everyone I've talked to, all separated different, all have a favorite song that's different from the next one, and it's super cool. So really happy with the reactions and responses with the release. So if you want to check out the EP, it is State of Mind by Night Like This. It is available on iTunes. Just look for that picture that I just showed you under Night Like This, State of Mind. Google Music, all those other places, you can check it out, and it's there for you. And got a few things left. So just some final words on your personal experience of making the EP. Just the entire process. I guess I'll say mine. So this something I've always wanted to do. I mean, we've been writing music and recording and stuff, but
it actually feels like professional. Like it's
like like we've recorded a CD before and it was super good too. I think like I see it looking back and it's super good for its time and all that, and I like the style. But I wanted to do, of course, an acoustic EP. Once we've been playing acoustic a long time too. I'm like, I want to make a full acoustic EP. It was like a goal of mine. Like I really wanted to do that, and like getting it out on iTunes was like a huge goal. Like it was like, oh, that would be so cool. And we just stuck to that goal and just, you know, doing it for ourselves. Like, you know, who's gonna care that we're staying up till 1 a.m. trying to write a perfect guitar lead part? I mean, we just try to write as perfect as we can that we wanted to hear it. Like the album is perfect in my ears for us, and so just really sticking to that goal was just the whole process of how damn hard basically we worked, each of us, on the EP to get it where it was, where it started to where it is now. It was just insane, and just an incredible process. Like I am a much better musician because of it. Like no doubt, I play better, I write better music, I have a way better understanding of music, and in every sense of just like in every instrument too. I mean, mainly guitar, but just the whole process of writing a song and writing with E. I mean, I think we're better friends because of it, I think, and it's just super fun experience, and I plan on continuing to write and think I've got some betters. I mean, continue to learning to grow as a musician to make some good stuff. So just those things stick out to me, the growing as a musician, the determination and hard work that went into it, and just proud of it.
For me, two main things come up. The first one is, like I said before, just listening to every single version of the track after we mixed it down after a session, and just seeing the growth that has happened, and seeing how the quality has changed and how the song has really developed, how all the songs have developed. It's just cool, you know. And I'm sure we're gonna look back on this, you know, years and years and years from now, and just we have all these memories that we've created. It's just insane. And a big thing was the Coming Home song, the idea behind it. We all went to different schools and everything at that point. And I remember the year before 2016 when we started recording, we barely even saw each other like at all, because we were just kind of doing our own thing. And then as soon as we started like recording this EP, I just think that we've become way better friends, and I'm just, you know, it's one of those things that you would never trade away.
Yeah, for sure.
So hold on.
Yeah, so yep.
But
Easter egg there. But yeah, it was I mean, we spend it every weekend up in Ames. So, any other personal experiences of the EP? I guess I kind of left out. I was talking about, all the stuff I learned. Just like the list is uncountable.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, the knowledge.
But just even like if you go into like the entirety of recording an album, I've always appreciated artists and their making of music, and that I've always bought artist music. I never go and rip anything from the internet or anything. I always buy it. I got to personally experience what it was like to make an album or an EP, and the amount of work that goes into it. I mean, I knew it was tough, but to experience firsthand is insane. And $6 was what it ended up costing for us to purchase our EP. When you sit in our shoes to see what $6 would be for that amount of work is just like totally worth it. But what I was getting at was, as far as learning, like the software and the Mixcraft that we used, he helped me a lot, learn a lot about Mixcraft and basically the recording everything, because there's points where, of course, he would have to go and record a guitar part, or he'd have to go and record a vocal part. I would have to work the board and do the recording, and then also the panning of things and volumes of things and the mixing of things, making sure certain parts sound certain ways. So I learned a ton about that alongside just writing music.
Yeah, I mean, the learning, it's never ending. You know, you just learn every day. You learn something new, and you apply it to the projects that you work on. This one being the EP, obviously. And it's just, as you learn, things become faster, the process becomes better, the quality increases, and I have high hopes and for the future.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah,
a big thing too that I have gotten from this process is I have never actually really sang before. So to go in and do all of this singing and everything, it's a completely different experience. And I feel like my vocal quality has increased a lot.
Yep. And we kind of already said it, but we weren't like trying to impress certain people, or we were trying to make the album we wanted to hear. I throw on this album any day, any song, any mood I'm in, I got a song for it, and I have it exactly the way I want it. And I love it, but it doesn't matter if someone else doesn't love it. We wrote it how we wanted to hear it and how we wanted it to be in its final way, and the recording and practicing and writing of vocals for that was a learning experience. We both sang, but no, we didn't take like lessons or anything, or professional, and neither of us were like taught to play guitar. We both learned on our own by ear, and so everything was like self-taught basically, and everything was self-made with this album essentially.
It's cool, creating something from nothing.
Yep.
It's just very cool.
Yep. So those are some of our stuff we learned, some of our memorable moments, some of the harder parts of recording. So just on a different note, look into what's next. So now we're done with State of Mind. It's out there for people to listen to, and we'll have it forever. And so next we were wanting to actually make some physical copies of it. That was the initial goal, and we're wanting to follow through on that. I know some people want some physical copies. I know some people that still have physical copies of our Shady View Boulevard CD Defiant. So we're looking into how to do that and how to get those, and hopefully that's not too long we get those out. And another goal of ours was to start playing some shows. So we will announce on Facebook or wherever a video will go now, and a post announcing some shows coming up. So we're in the works of that too, trying to look at some places to get booked. So that's a goal for the near future. And then also, I mean, just the whole making of this EP was tough, but definitely fun and better than sitting at home and doing nothing. It's super great experience, and we're a band now, and we want to keep writing and keep recording. So with that said, we want to do another more recording. So looking to do a full length play album next, rather than just a half album EP. So you're looking around 10 songs or so for the next project. And I can't say, it's way early now to say when that will be ready to start or finish even, but to start and kind of get the ball rolling with that. But we have wrote some stuff.
And like we have been saying countless times, with everything that we've learned, it's just going to get faster, and the quality is going to increase, and it's just, I'm looking forward to making new music.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. So again, Chase isn't here, but I think Chase will be a little bit more involved in the writing of the next project we do. I think you might hear a song on there that he wrote personally on guitar, or maybe, and then you'll also probably hear lyrics that are parts that he wrote, and maybe he won't be singing. Maybe E will sing a lyric that Chase wrote, or I'll record a guitar part that Chase wrote. And it's like we have these three guys that can do a lot of different things, and I think that's unique about us, and we can all write different things and record them and play them live many different ways. So next project will have a little bit more variety, but definitely will still be Night Like This sound for sure. Yes. So just final thoughts on the EP, I guess might be fun to say some I'm trying to remember what I was looking back at, but just like not really secrets, but just stuff that might be kind of funny to know or fun to know. I'm trying to think of some.
We've given a lot of little Easter eggs and what songs used to be called before, and
like I guess you talk about, like, people probably didn't know that the bottles clinking together were real alcohol bottles from the freezer, and that Jake was in with us on those vocal parts too.
I remember you walking in, just like Jake and I were talking, and then all of a sudden you walk in holding like 16 bottles. What were you doing?
Yeah, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of another one. I'm sure there's more. I just can't think of it at the moment. Just give me a minute. I can think of something. I don't know. We talked a lot about it, but just overall thoughts on the EP. It's
done now.
It's done now. It's something I know personally I've always wanted to do. I know he's been wanting to do it, and it's done. It was a ton of work, a ton, insane amount of work, but awesome, very awesome experience, and we can have a final piece that we will have forever, which is very cool. We just wanted to make this video to let you guys know what it was like for us to make this entire EP and the whole process of it, and for us to watch later on and kind of look back at this and see, just kind of remember what it was like. So this video is for that. Just whoever's watching, a huge thank you to you if you have checked the EP out. Remember, it's on iTunes, Google Music, Apple Music, Shazam, Spotify, Pandora. Go check it out. State of Mind by Night Like This. We will be posting some future updates on our Facebook page. So give us a follow on that. We're also on Twitter. I think it's Night Like This Official Band.
Not Like This Band Official.
Band Official.
I think.
And then Facebook, like I said. So,
Yep.
Give us a follow on the social media sites, and you'll be up to date with what we're doing. And any other final thoughts on the EP or anything else?
The more milk you drink, the less milk you have.
All right, I'm Ryan Brown again.
My name is Evan Snitkey.
And we're 2/3 of Night Like This, and that was the making of State of Mind.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.